So hi everyone, we're going to look at evaluating once again using integers, and this time there's going to be multiple steps. Alright, so let's try some examples and learn through doing them. So here it says big expression where there's several integers being added. Some are positive, such as 4 and 7, and some are negative integers, like -6. So the key thing to do to know how to approach this is to remember your sign rules. So here they are, okay? Two positives make a positive, and then two negatives make a positive. Then if you have opposites, right here, you end up making a negative. So make sure you're very familiar with those rules because we're going to use them a lot right now. So before I solve this, I'm going to actually change some signs to come up with their equivalents. So let's check for that. We'll start by looking left to right. Okay, this is obviously a +7. Here though, the minus with the plus, that's going to end up making a negative. All right. Then over here we're going to add 1, and here it's plus with minus, and we know that opposites make for a negative. So let's rewrite this. It should read 4 plus 7 minus 9 plus 1, then minus 6. Okay, so we've kind of summarized the signs into single signs, and now we have to do this big calculation. Okay, so grab your calculator, and you can do this really with one shot. You could say 4 plus 7, subtract 9, add 1, subtract 6. And it's really easy to put all those numbers in there with one sign between them and find out that the answer is -3. Alright, so what you want to do is avoid having to put all these numbers in with all these back-to-back signs, because you're going to make mistakes. It's not clean to do, it's not efficient. It's better to reduce the signs to a single sign and then run all these numbers through with one sign at a time and get the answer. So a note that to do questions like this, fix the signs first, then calculate, and use your calculator, okay? Let's try example 2. Okay, again, we're going to fix our signs. Let's look left to right. So you can't do anything with that. That's -2, -4. Now a plus with the minus, let's just look at that and say, well, that's really a minus. You don't have to circle like up here. You can just write down that this plus with this minus becomes that minus. Okay, take away 14. And here it's take away 6, take away 1. There's nothing we can do. All right. Now we want to set this up in our calculator. Okay, so as we go into our calculator, the first thing we're going to have to do is put a -2 in there. So again, you need to find your minus symbol, and it's different from your subtract symbol. Okay, mine's right here. Real close if we zoom in. Okay, so the difference is that sign here is the minus sign, from right over here, and then that's different from this sign. That's a subtract sign. Just want to make sure you find the right minus sign for your calculator. Okay, so it says -2. Now we actually have to subtract away a whole bunch of numbers here. Here we go. So subtract 4, subtract 14, subtract 6, subtract 1. Okay, if you have a good calculator too, the screen can show you what you put in, so it'd be really nice if you had that. It's not the end of the world, it can help though. And we realize that this is -27. All right, try another example. So in example 3, we actually are going to do some multiplication. We're going to multiply -5 times -3 times -4. Okay, and you have to work out your signs, and then you actually have to calculate. So it's sort of like all the other questions. There's consideration for signs, and then there's some calculating. Okay, remember, bracket with bracket means to multiply. It's as if there's a multiply symbol here, but we don't actually write it. Okay, so here's how I'd like you to do this. Let's do the signs first. So if I take that negative number and I multiply a negative number, we know that two negatives make a positive. So these two signs would make this thing positive, right? And then with all this being positive, it has to then multiply this negative. So now you have a negative here. So a positive with a negative is going to make this whole thing negative. All right? So what you want to do is think about these signs, and then you can basically list that the final answer is going to have the overall sign you found. So the overall answer for this question is going to be negative. Okay? Some of you are probably okay doing it in your head, saying to yourself, a negative with a negative makes a positive, and now with another negative, you've got the overall result of negative. And that takes care of your signs. Okay? To do 5 times 3 times 4, probably want your calculator for that. It's starting to the multiplication is getting a bit bigger. So 5 times 3, oops, that's 5 plus 3. Don't make punch errors. 5 times 3 times 4. Rule of thumb for calculators actually is if you punch the numbers in twice and you get the same answer, chances are you didn't make any punch errors. So 5 times 3 times 4 is 60. Let's check it again. 5 times 3 times 4. All right, same answer twice. I'm confident that that's 60. Let's try example 4. So 4 multiplies negative 2 multiplies negative 6. Do your signs first. What's 4's sign? Nothing there, so he's positive. Okay, so the positive with the negative, maybe you want to do this. That makes this negative. And then all this being negative, with that negative, we realize the whole thing becomes positive. All right, and then you need to do 4 times 2 times 6. So we probably want your calculator. 4 times 2 times 6, and you get 48. Check it twice. Again, I get 48. I'm confident. This is plus 48, but we just write that as 48. Okay, example 5. A little different. We've got 2 times 3 times minus 2, and then we divide that by minus 4. Let's do this in parts, okay? Let's deal with this multiplication first. Let's think about it. Positive times positive stays positive, times a negative, we're now going to have a negative. So this part here, 2 times 3 times minus 2 is going to end up negative. Let's do this in our head. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 2, 12. So that's minus 12. Okay, all this is minus 12. You still have to divide that by minus 4. Okay, so again, we're going to do some sign rules. What's this negative number? Divide by another negative number. They're like. The negative is with the negative. They're the same. So the result will be positive. Okay. Then you think, what's 12 divided by 4? Well, if you had to divide 12 4 ways, you'd have 3. And the proper form would be just 3 like that. A positive 3. Okay, example 6. Let's take a close look at it. So it looks like we've got a big division, but before we do that division, we're going to have to work out this, what we call the numerator, and then the denominator. So let's start with the numerator. And again, that's a numerator. Anytime you have a big division like that, it's really like a big fraction where you have the numerator on top and what we call the denominator on the bottom. So we're going to deal with the numerator. Okay, what's 5 times 4? That's 20. And now I got to do my signs, right? The order doesn't matter. That's why I did it a bit backwards. A while ago I said do your sign first, then do the numbers. When you multiply, the order won't really matter as long as you do both. So 5 times 4 is 20, but there's a minus sign. This is minus 20. Okay? And you still have to do the denominator. So 1 times 10, that's 10. And then the minus with the minus, well, 2 minuses make a positive. So it's positive 10. Okay? Last, we have to do our division. So I'm just going to carry the equal sign over here. Usually we go underneath, but I've run out of room. So minus 20 divided by positive 10. Well, let's do our signs. A minus with the positive will be minus, or negative. And 20 divided by 10 is 2. So that entire expression, which we've evaluated, is really the same thing as minus 2. All right, so let's get some practice on this today in class. Check with your teacher and get what you need and ask some questions. Talk soon. Bye.